How's it going, guys? It's time to take a break from Enfield and come back to Arknights. So today, as per usual, as you guys have seen, we got the Leizi Alta announcement. Leizi the Thunderbringer. Very cool name indeed. So we're gonna get into should you pull Leizi banner, and I'm just gonna go like basically straightforward this time around. I'm gonna say that most people probably shouldn't be pulling her. I know that there's a new CN operator that can work pretty well with her, but it's just that new operator in itself isn't even that good. Like it's really hard to utilize, and then plus Leizi Alta, which is also really hard to utilize, and then you pairing them together, it's like hard plus hard, and you're making it even nicher situation. So yes, even knowing the newest CN operator, this is a banner that I would recommend most people to skip. Why most people? You'll see at the end of the video. So let's get into it. So here we have Leizi Alta. So as you can see, she is a liberator, and when you talk about liberator, who do you think of? Lunar. So obviously they are basically direct competitors with each other. It's just that with Lunar skill 3, you're looking at Leizi skill 2, and I would say in most situations I would prefer Lunar skill 3 anyway, because it's just easier to use compared to Leizi skill 2. We'll talk about that deeper when we talk about her skills, but for now let's talk about her traits and talents. So as all liberators do, her trait is that usually she doesn't attack and block 0. When skills aren't activated, she will gain up to plus 200% over a 40-second duration, and when skill duration ends, reset the attack. Module is that upon deployment, gain plus 100% attack, so that's the same as Minar, and it's really important because you want to be able to use that skill to skill 3 ASAP, like immediately when they charge up, instead of waiting a full 40 seconds, even if the skill is already charged up, or else you wouldn't get the same amount, you wouldn't get the full damage. Yeah, really important. And I would say if you want to use her, definitely module level 3. Her first talent is that within her attack area, every tile has a 10% chance to have thunder fall onto it and deal that 100% of her attack as arch damage to all enemies on that tile per second. So 10%, 100%, 10% chance for 100% damage. Basically, you can roughly calculate as 10% of her attack on all tiles within her attack area per second, roughly. It's not quite the same, I get it, but you can think of it that way. It's a simplified way of thinking it. Yeah, that's actually not a lot. It's like 100% of arc damage is not too good in my opinion. It's the second part that is really interesting. So when her skills are not activated, she actually flies. So this actually helps her to gain actually another layer of survivability. It's really interesting. And you can actually pair this with operators like Antelekia skill 2 to let the spinning scythe hit air units when when the scythe spins around Leizi when she's midair, right? Interesting way to use this. And you'll also bypass some effects that only like some enemies only hit ground units, stuff like that. You can bypass those, and a lot of enemies wouldn't hit her as well completely, so they'll need range attack. And yeah, it's pretty interesting, I would say, mechanic wise. This third part of this talent is that during skill duration, her attack will be increased to up to 117% with module and potential 5. Now her second talent is that upon activating her skill, she will deal lightning to all ground tiles specifically within her attack area, dealing 100% of her attack as arch damage to all enemies within them, and then give them 2 seconds of frighten. So the thing where they cannot do normal attack, or like when they're blocked, that thing. So this is actually a pretty good survivability things. So usually she wouldn't block, right? But let's say if there is a situation where the stage increases her block count, Lunar would just stand there and block enemies, while Leizi, because she's flying, she wouldn't be blocking enemies, even though she does have one block. In that case though, because she is flying, she will be blocking aerial units. That's something to look out to. pretty interesting. I know there's a lot of possibilities there. And then the moment if you activate her skill, she drops down, right? And then giving that 2-second frighten, that actually boosts her survivability to allow her to deal damage when enemies aren't able to deal damage because she's blocking them. Really interesting. So that would be her basic traits. Now let's talk about her skills. So let's take a look at her first skill first. Her skill is that she will increase her attack area to this area, so towards the front and the 2 sides, and she will deal all enemies deal 355% of her attack as physical damage to all enemies on the ground within that 3 directional area. You can charge this skill 3 times, and if you still have a charge in it, like even let's say you have 3 charges, use it once, the trait the attack from trait does not reset. It's only when you have only 1 charge left and you use that final charge that then this attack actually resets. This is actually a very interesting skill because this is an instantaneous damage. So you drop down, you deal frighten, enemies cannot attack because she's blocking them, right? And then she flies up immediately again. So what you want to look out for is enemies that cannot be frightened. They won't be affected. And then like if there's like boss or something, jump down, you block the boss, deal damage, and the boss just attacks you. Yeah, she can still die that way. Now this skill is actually very interesting because you actually choose when you activate the skill, and it's a good area, it's good damage, it's actually really good instantaneous damage as well. And if you like, you know how sometimes when you drop down an operator on top of an enemy and you can push them away, you can actually repeat that process with skill 1 as well, which is actually a very interesting way to use her skill 1. It's just that most of the time you're not looking into using her skill 1. It's not the most consistent damage. It's more like when you're solely relying on her to deal damage. And then basically think of Arknight's skill 2, right? You're doing single hit strong damages once in a while and you're controlling when to do it. So you better know the stage really well. There must not be a huge bunch of really strong enemies. So usually when is that? Start of IS. Yeah, that's where her skill 1 really shines. Anywhere else, there are some rare stages that can come into play, but most of the situations not. So that is Leizi Ultra's skill 1. Next, we have skill 2. So this skill 2 is actually really interesting and actually competes directly with Munar. So as you can see, her skill duration is 36 seconds compared to Munar's 28 seconds. They end up dealing the same amount-ish of total damage, but because Munar's skill actually has a shorter duration, the same amount of total damage in a shorter amount of time means higher DPS. That can actually come into play in a lot of situations. So that's first win in my opinion for Munar. Sure, having a longer duration does mean that you can clear out more mobs in the long run, like within 8 seconds. So that's like a rare case where Leizi would actually be better. But most of the time Munar is fine anyway, and you not only rely on Munar, I would assume you would have other operators dealing damage as well. So that 8 seconds isn't really that important. Instead, what I want is the high DPS to finish out like those elite enemies ASAP. That's first thing. Second thing is that her attack area is determined by how the map is designed. So her attack area will follow the ground tiles that can be traversed and extends by up to 3 tiles far. So if you have a really empty map with no high ground, no nothing, it's just all ground tiles, you can extend it however long, however big you like it can expand in all directions. So a bad example, a weird example, no, an example that I saw was someone using a lava block in Minecraft to represent it, and then you know how lava or water spreads in Minecraft. It's somehow the same way, and once blocked by like a block then or high ground, then it actually blocks the flow, but you can still like go around it. But if it's blocked in like a lane, then it's completely blocked off. So what that means is if it's a map where there's a lot of lanes and each lane is separated by high ground tiles, Leizi can only hit 1 lane, but Munar can hit 3 lanes because of his attack area width. So this skill is highly dependent on the map. Now let's continue on. Her attack deals up to 150% of her attack as physical damage to 4 targets, and during her skill duration, all thunders dropped deal plus 10% attack, and this stacks for 25 times. So at the end, you will see her talent Thunder doing a lot of damage from art attack, which is really interesting in my opinion, because that thing is kind of random. But if you look at a single tile, so if you're blocking an enemy, that is actually quite significant amount of damage at the end. So at the end of the day, most of the time I would just go with Minar. He's just more brain dead to use. You don't have to think, okay, how would the attack area spread as this map is designed, blah 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 blah. You have to go through so many calculations each time you deploy her. Instead with Minar, you just put him down, base him in that direction. He will destroy most enemies coming from that direction, while Leizi Alter cannot do so. So that is why I prefer Minar skill 3 over Leizi skill 2. On the other hand, if you're just starting out and you don't have Minar, Leizi is your only choice. If you're only using skill E1 operator, like start of IS, because she can use her skill 2 immediately when you obtain her, while Minar requires E2, that is also part of her strength. So that's skill 2 for Leizi Alter for you. At last, we have skill 3. So upon activating skill 3, her attack area increases to this range. Her attack interval is increased by 1.7 seconds, bringing it to 2.9 seconds. Every attack deals 300% of her attack as AoE physical damage, and the target area, the target tile, will spawn 3 light electric current that flows towards 4 directions that can flow extend by 3 tiles. Now, when these electric currents hit Leizi herself or hits a high ground, it rebounds and goes back in the other direction. So as you can see in this situation, because the current is basically locked into one tile, it just keeps bouncing within the same tile and dealing a massive amount of damage. So that is where, like, if you can make high ground yourself, CN new operator, you can gain benefit from that. But even this is really hard to achieve. I'm probably showing you guys the showcase video that I made when she first released. It took me multiple tries to get this effect to take down Tallulah, and like, you might think it's a really easy way, but like, there's actually a very strict timing in which you have to activate the skill, or else the current will actually flow away and you're not dealing the full damage. So there is some difficulty when it comes to using this skill. And actually with all 3 of her skills, right? Skill 1 is timing, and then skill 2 knowing the map, skill 3 also knowing the map, and then timing, all very difficult to use somehow. So it is actually a more skilled, you need more skill, to put it that way. You need more skills to use her properly. Now, when the current is flowing, it actually flowing across a tile, it deals 70% of Leizi Alter's attack as arch damage once every 0.6 seconds to all enemies on the tile. And there is a 15% chance for them to have frightened for 3 seconds. What that means is that you might be getting a lot of survivability from that as well, if you can like make sure the enemy is locked in place and you're actually blocking them. Another way to use this skill is actually to use them on those really huge bosses that can take up a lot of tiles, because these these currents only flow for 3 tiles, right? So if this boss happens to be 3 tile by 3 tile or bigger, then they will take the full damage of the current, no matter like how the stage is designed, because you can just put her down at the center of the boss and the current will just keep blowing, but dealing damage to the boss no matter where it goes. So that is when she really shines. Either you have a tile where all 3 directions are all blocked off, and then Leizi is the one blocking the final direction, as you can see in the Tallulah situation, or huge bosses, and those are the only 2 situations. So that is about it for Leizi skill 3. So given those information, in which area does she perform the best? I would say 100% IS. She is basically designed for IS use. Skill 1, skill 2, skill 3 all hit different areas, especially in IS 6. It's just that there are better operators to use in IS 6. I'll talk about that later. So she's not even the first pick when it comes to guard squad. And then when you go back to previous IS, sure, she kind of does what Menard does in some of the stages. It's just not all of them. And the ease of use is still limiting her, in my opinion. So IS is her best performing content, and even then she's not the best. I think that kind of tells you how good she is. So during your normal event, I would say just use Menard. Much easier, higher damage, you're destroying mobs. In CC though, I can see her shine a little bit more because first of all, she deals arc damage, and recently physical damage just isn't doing that well when it comes to CC. And second of all, she has better survivability compared to Menard because Menard has that taunt. So even though in usual content, you might say, oh, Menard can draw the enemy's range attack and then, you know, take the damage for, let's say, your range operators. In CC, you actually don't want that. A lot of the times you want your operators to survive, and then taking that damage out of nowhere is where you can use someone else to bait. Not the best option. So Leizi's survivability actually shines a lot in CC, and then her floating mechanism is actually really interesting as well. Like I said, you can drop her down and push enemies away with her skill 1. Really interesting way to use her as well. So I would say she has a higher chance to shine in CC than Menard. So if you're a CC focused guy, definitely you can give her a try. And then RA, SSS, I would say in SSS, she doesn't really do that well. It's just the same with Menard. The fact that you have to wait 40 seconds for the full damage is just not worth it. In RA though, because of the way her range is dealt, and then the way her skill 3 performs, you can actually use her in some situations. It's just that she's still not the best option because let's say a lot of operators can benefit from SP food. She wouldn't be able to benefit from those. You would want more attack food and then speed. It's just not really SP. It's not really worth it, in my opinion, for RA as well. So it's either just CC or IS. Now, another situation is if you're new to the game, you don't have Menard, or you only have Menard as like your, you know, huge damage operator, and you feel like you definitely need another one. That is when Leizi Alter can also come in as well. It's just that for most of us who has a lot of high damage operators already, I would say save now because we have 2 limited banners coming one after another, and now is the time to save. So that would be it for this video. I hope this video helped you to know that you probably should skip Leizi Alter, or if you wanted to pull her, tell me why down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one where I'm going to be pulling her and hopefully my luck isn't too bad. Bye.